creating YouTube. Now, I've always been aware of racism for my entire life, probably since I was around, I don't know, 5 or so. And I'd like to say that I'd always been aware of sexism and misogyny, but the reality is I wasn't. I really didn't even become aware of sexism and probably into my 20s, and misogyny, the concept of misogyny and the concept of feminism and the patriarchy that is the toxic environment of the world that we live in, um, didn't hit my radar until far too late in life, and I feel bad about that. But and now I try to stay as informed as I can, both on topics of racism and on misogyny. I try to listen to the people of the world around me, the women of the world, and the people of color. I hear their words and I try to take them into consideration. And as a boorish male, which is unfortunately a lot of the men I know in my life, I try to listen to women when they talk and not talk over them. Yes, I have been conditioned to talk over women. It's difficult to not do it sometimes. I feel shame for that, and I'm working on it. But I still fall into that trap because I have been conditioned by the patriarchy to think that my voice is more important. But no matter how aware I am of racism and misogyny, they are not lived experiences. I will never understand racism the way a person of color does, and I will never understand misogyny the way a woman does. And the reason's simple. I'm a white man, and I live in a bubble of privilege. I will never face racism, not ever in my life. And I will never face misogyny, not once. It isn't to say that I can't face discrimination or sexism. I can, and I have. But racism and misogyny are much different. Racism is discrimination plus power, and that's what the difference is for misogyny as well. It's sexism that has a violent tinge, backed with power, because the men in the world are in charge and have been for a very long time. And because it's not my lived experience, I didn't perceive the 2016 election cycle the same way that people of color and women have. But now that De Fuhrer is being put in charge of our new Reich, I'm a whole lot more woke than I was, if you'll allow me to use a bit of terminology from the younger generation. And I'm aware now of things on a level that I wasn't before. And the reality is, I can no longer trust white people, particularly white men. And while I cannot say I now have the point of view of a person of color or a woman, because I don't, and I never will, I am closer to that view than I was before. Because every time I look at a white person now, particularly white men, I ask myself, did you vote for the Fuhrer? Did you help put him on the throne? Are you deep down a bigot, misogynist, a racist, a xenophobe? And what do I do about the people I work with? Now, in my private life, there are no Republicans. None of my friends are Republican. And to the best of my knowledge, none of my blood has ever voted Republican. But I could be wrong. My father may have when he was younger. I'm not sure. But I wasn't as politically active then. I didn't care. That was the anxiety and depression and PTSD talking. It was hard to care about politics when you couldn't get from one day to the next. But where I work, I'm surrounded by Republicans. People I know voted for the De Fuhrer. So what do I do? What do I do about that? How do I interact with these people? Now, on a professional level, I have to interact with them, and I will. I will have an absolutely neutral voice and facial expression. And for a lot of them, I've never socialized with them. I'm not all that gregarious. I'm just not. I just kind of do my job. And I've always preferred the company of women to men to begin with. But I know, for example, there was a one guy at work. I know he voted for the Fuhrer. I know he did. And yet, I saw him laughing and joking with someone at work. A black African immigrant woman. A woman that the GOP doesn't even consider a real human being because she's African, because she's black, because she's an immigrant, and because she's a woman. I know a woman at work that I know voted for the Fuhrer. She's a Puerto Rican woman. The GOP doesn't think she's a real human being either. She's brown and she's a woman. At best, the GOP sees women as a womb, as a thing, as a means to an end. Another baby Republican, another baby Christian. Maybe. Because she's brown, after all. They're kind of questionable in that part. So what do I do? How do I interact with people in the world around me when I know they have voted for the Fuhrer? When they have backed an overtly racist election campaign, an overtly misogynistic campaign, overtly bigoted, and overtly xenophobic. People that endorse the concept of building the wall. People that think immigrants are stealing our jobs. And it never occurs to them that American corporations have been shipping their jobs overseas. And if they're hiring immigrants at a lower wage, why blame the immigrant? Why don't you blame the corporation? But no, they don't do that. They blame the immigrant, who is not in the power position in this. The corporation is. And once again, I'm really angry and clenching my hands really hard. Because once again, I just want to scream at my camera. But that wouldn't help. So what am I going to do? I saw a great post the other day. The day after it was the day of, I think it was posted the night of the election. It says tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to do good. So are you. And no one gets to vote on that. So just today I've spent a number of hours having a conversation on a gaming forum about the problematic use of calling people insulting terms that happen to be female body parts. Now that is an aspect of sexism and misogyny, and how it's part of the narrative that disparages women and objectifies them into nothing but things. It's not going well. You'd be amazed how many sexists there are in the gaming community and how many people who are very comfortable being misogynistic don't think anything of it. Oh, it's just barrack talk, just locker talk, you know what I mean? Locker room talk. But yeah. At least no one's told me they're gonna grab any pussies. That's all I can do. Get up every day, do the best I can. And like the quote I just said, no one gets to vote on that.